Don't. Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened it.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spit and Posh Presents The Mystery Box. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Sliwinski.
And I am Bartek.
Hello, Bartek. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very excited to be doing the mystery box again after so long.
Yes, it's the Mystery Box.
I want the intro, the voice, to be going, yes, thank you, open the box.
Open it. And we are Spit and Polish, likingly because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Polish. And we're doing our monthly show. We're back at it again. We had some time off, then we came back for a while,
Scarface,
and then
yeah,
we went away
traumatized
again
us.
with this show. Just a lot of stuff's been happening. But now we're back with our monthly show in which we watch a movie that is complete mystery with an asterisk next to it with certain cases.
Also, given when this is coming out, hope you had a nice Christmas.
Merry Christmas, bitches!
We're doing our monthly show in which we talk about a movie that is a complete mystery. Put an asterisk next to that because there have been a few cases where it's not a complete mystery. Maybe this time, who knows? And we find these movies secondhand from opportunity shops, the gutter. Some of them have been sent in the mail as death threats. And we put them in a box, wrap them up, get a guest to come in and choose the movie at random, completely unaware, and pick it. We watch it together and we come back here and talk about it. For this episode of the Mystery Box, we are joined by my wife, or as Borat would say it, my wife, Bartek. We're joined by you, and we're joined by my floozy Rachel Sliwinski. Rachel,
Yes.
nice to see you again.
Yes, thank you by addressing me with my full title of Floozy Rachel.
Floozy Rachel Sliwinski, yeah.
And I'm wife.
My wife. For this episode of the show, we got to watch the movie Rachel picked at random, but I think we all had a history with in some way because this is one of the older movies in the box.
I think it's what I put in when we started.
We watched a movie in a double pack, the John Hurt Double, as it's called. The movie we watched was Tender Loving Care. And the tagline for this on the cover is, "Be careful what you wish for, ... Tender Loving Care." Like, that's kind of how it is. So, who found this? Why is this in the box? What's the go? Who did you find this, Rachel? Did you bring this in the box?
Bartek
It was
found
the wife.
it.
The wife found it.
The wife found it.
My wife?
The wife put it in. The floozy wrapped it up, and the floozy picked it. But it is the wife's fault, which also applies to the plot of the movie.
And I'm completely innocent in all of this. I'm the victim here.
In fact, I think I remember when
I'm the nurse.
I brought it in.
No, the
I'm
the nurse is the floozy.
No, but she's the victim too.
Well, actually, Ryan, I think when I brought it in, you were skeptical about whether it should be in the box or not. So
Because it's got John Hurt
you were
in
being
it.
a bit of a villain.
Yeah. So, Bartek,
Mm-hmm.
why is this in the box? What about this drew you to getting this John Hurt double pack? Are you a big fan of the John Hurt?
I don't really know him too much. No,
Alien?
I've seen Spaceballs.
You haven't seen... Oh, that's right. You haven't seen Alien. Of course not. So, what drew you to this?
So I'd heard of Tender Loving Care. I'd seen a little bit of things from it online, and the fact that it was right there in front of me, I thought, oh, this is interesting. I think I want to get this so I can say I own it and maybe even show it to some people. Because I had an idea of what it was, and then after I bought it, I looked up a bit more about this DVD, and I thought, oh, this is a little bit different.
Okay, so why is Tender Loving Care, having just watched it, a topic on the internet that intrigued you so much that you wanted to own this physically and show it off to all your friends.
I think the immediate answer I give is gonna raise some questions.
I think mine are going to be more emotions, but come on.
I saw a Let's Play of it. Do you have a question for me, Ryan?
No, I don't. I have fury
The
for you.
floozy does.
Who was Let's Playing?
It was Obscurus Lupa and her boyfriend.
Okay. So is this a game?
Yes, this is originally a DVD interactive game
Ah,
with the decisions and multiple outcomes, allegedly. And
was this a movie at all?
I mean, what we watched was clearly a movie.
I'm so confused.
So, explain further. So you saw a video game and thought, I want to put the video game into the movie box?
Well, it's a DVD, so...
Well, yeah, you got me there.
Also, when I bought it, we hadn't started the mystery box yet.
That's true, but when we started the mystery box, this was the first thing you brought into it, being like, we should do this on the show and we should talk about
Yeah, it was going to be a
things.
nightmare.
And so you were under the impression that we were going to be playing an interactive DVD game.
When I brought it in, I thought that it was a DVD, but I hadn't checked yet, so I was going to find out when we picked it. That was that was the
yeah.
mystery for me when it was picked. Like,
So
I'm finally
you've
going to find
been-
out.
You've been waiting for several years.
Mhm.
How do you feel?
Yeah, how do you feel?
Well, I figured it was just a movie, so...
So, what was the game? I
So-
don't understand. Was it a choose-your-own-adventure, and was it on the plot of this movie?
So, for one thing, John Hurt was in it a lot, because he was the one talking to the player.
was it actually him, or was it a
It was
soundbite?
John Hurt. On video, talking to you, the player, and asking you questions.
It wasn't just cutscenes from this?
I mean, the scenes are from it, but I figure they had to pick one ending of it if there's multiple endings.
No, I mean, he is talking directly to the camera, right? It's not
Yes.
like it's just cuts of him in this movie asking questions, which is all he does
no,
in
no,
the
he
movie.
d-
Spoiler alert, John Hurt's in 3 scenes.
Yes, he's actually a presence talking to the audience face to camera.
Is he a human, or is he like Christopher Walken in that point and click?
I think he's still Dr. Turner, but this is him talking to the players, not the character that talks to the...
That didn't answer my question, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
didn't
that we got
think
there.
that I could be more confused, but somehow I still am. And
Yeah. Before we even recorded, Bartek said that he was going to mention the history, and I said, I think I remember you telling me it, and I found it so stupid and absurd that I blocked it out of my memory. And as soon as you said, yeah, but it was a game, and I watched the Let's Play, I'm like, that's it, yep, that's right, I did remember that this was a stupid... That's why I didn't really have any question for you. I'm like, of course. Can I just say, as someone who does not have that much of an affinity towards anything related to Channel Awesome, and you do... You've mentioned Brad Jones a lot on this show. You just have brought us Obscurus Lupa and Phelan's project that they played and a Let's Play into our show. I'm sick of Channel Awesome in general. I'm sick of the fact that they've stolen jokes from our podcast very directly. I'm sick of the fact that every time Brad Jones is mentioned on this show, and when we do something that he recommended, it's one of the worst things we've ever watched. And now Obscurus Lupa, who's someone I actually do like, has now made me watch Tender Loving Care, which you thought was a video game that we were going to be doing on the show. Were you hoping that this mystery box would be a Let's Play?
Well,
That
no,
would have
because
actually been really interesting.
we'd be talking about it after the fact.
Well, maybe. Maybe.
Also, I'll just say right now, her experience was pretty much your experience.
Great.
She broke down.
I broke down.
If I'd have known starting this what we were getting into, shoot myself.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes
Yes.
of this. I mean, that's a whole episode in itself, the fact that you did this to us in that manner. But the DVD itself, before we get into the film, let's have a talk about this cover.
Mm-hmm.
The cover itself is a DVD double feature, so you have the top image being this movie and the bottom image being the other movie. We'll just talk about this one, because I'm sure we'll get the other one day.
Yeah.
This one is just a still image of John Hurt looking very mournfully with his hand on his face, looking off to the title, Tender Loving Care, in yellow. And then behind him is an image from the movie of a woman turned away and another woman looking at us with a scornful look.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cover.
Yeah.
And on the back, it just has the same still image again and a few others. And I had no... When we got this picked, my immediate reaction was, oh no, this is going to be really boring. Because no offense, I like John Hurt, don't get me wrong. But, and he was a great actor, great guy, charming, funny, unique. But I've always found John Hurt and the movies he has been in, for the most part, incredibly boring. He is that guy that your granddad's brother liked as an actor.
Well, good thing he wasn't in this too much then.
No. So I had really no expectations of having any enjoyment. So the fact that I did have some minor enjoyment was more than I expected. I thought this was going to be boring, and it was. Don't get me wrong, it was. But
It was very emotional.
when I saw it, I just thought, oh fuck, it's one of Bartek's choices that he put in here. The last two were the Urotsuki Dojis that we have watched. Rachel, you picked this. How did you feel when you saw that it got outed of the box and you opened it? Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I don't know. I regretted not cheating. That was my first reaction.
I mean, last year you cheated and chose Urotsuki Doji too, so I'm glad you didn't.
But I still ended up with
A
weird
Bartek choice.
porn.
Yeah, we'll talk about the porn aspect of this.
Because it's not... It's bad at so many different things.
Yeah.
But I also was expecting you to have an expression that matches John Hurt's, or like on the cover during the movie.
I was more angered.
Yeah, so you ended up looking more like...
I just threw the DVD cover. We don't need it no more.
yeah, you ended up looking more like the woman on the back who's just
Scorn.
horrified and doesn't really know what's going on, and that then you kind of ended up looking like you were catatonic at certain points.
Yeah, but enough about me, Rachel. How about you? Did you feel overjoyed when we saw the menu and it said John Hurt?
I
Just John
was
Hurt.
John
mostly
Hurt.
confused by the background image.
Of
because
just blue?
no, it was just like a weird... It looked like it was an extreme close-up of something that had been blurred out.
Yeah.
And I was expecting it to have like the stills from the two movies like next to it, but no, not even that much effort. Like a little bit more effort than it just being a black or a white background, but more confusing.
Yeah. Now, Rachel, since you're on such a roll, could you do the honor of giving the audience a little bit of a window into what this movie was about? So give them, yourself, and us a quick summary of what this movie's about.
Okay, so I'm going to try and use my English teacher skills. So there's a way of describing plot that goes really simple, which is somebody wanted, but so then.
Yep.
So the somebody is Michael, the husband, wanted his wife to get better, but he didn't like the methods. So and then he got really angry, then he killed her.
His wife.
The nurse.
Oh, there's a nurse. Thank you for breaking down the plot in your
I
English
said
teacher way, in
He
which...
didn't like the nurse's methods.
No, you just
so
said he didn't
killed-
like the methods.
You didn't mention
Oh,
the nurse, but otherwise, yeah, that is pretty accurate.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you guys
It's
for listening
It's
in.
what Rachel just said, but 2 hours.
2 hours and 5 minutes, thank you. I'm not forgetting those extra 5 minutes
Well,
on
you
top.
skipped through the credits and then halfway
Those are
through...
5 minutes. And it went, if you want to be accurate, 2 hours and 2 hours, 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
So you do feel like that accurately represents the lack of plot?
Yep, basically. So
Yeah.
this movie,
Okay.
yeah, like Rachel said, the plot is bare bones. It is basically this guy is with his wife in this house in the middle of nowhere, and their dysfunctional marriage because she's crazy and lives in a fantasy world in which she believes that they have a child that's alive when in fact their child died in a car crash. He's depressed, she's insane. He needs help.
Catatonic.
Well, she's insane because she is not catatonic. She gets up all the time to check on the imaginary baby.
During the film, Ryan, you said semi-catatonic. Or maybe that was the film.
That was the film.
That was
The
the
film
film.
said semi-catatonic.
So no, I said
The
the
film
film was
calls her-
semi-catatonic.
Oh, right.
So-
The film also calls her catatonic and semi-catatonic because that was one of the nurses being like, she's made so much improvement, she's up and moving and only semi-catatonic.
God, I hate you.
You hate yourself. You think I don't know why you want Allison to remain half catatonic?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, don't you?
The plot is that he needs to get some professional help to get his wife back to reality. So this nurse
Yeah,
slash
and-
psychiatrist slash sexy
The whole
lady.
point is that she isn't an actual psychiatrist, she's just a nurse.
A nurse.
Because she resents the doctors.
That's not the point, Rachel. The point is
Point
that I
is
want to
do
fucking
this movie
kill
justice.
myself. This movie is about the fact that Michael is insane and he thinks he's sane and the movie thinks he's insane and sane.
See, I
And at the end of the
disagree.
movie, he goes Jack Torrance on everybody and I just want to be dead in the ground with maggots in my eyes. That's the movie. No, to be...
I disagree.
Go on.
See, I don't
You tell me why you loved this then.
No.
It was tender, it was loving, and I care.
He did try and be a tender, loving husband.
No, he didn't.
He wanted her to be better.
No, he didn't.
He wanted her to be better, but not realize that he was responsible for Jodie's death.
He doesn't realize he was responsible for Jodie's death. That's the whole
He
arc
does.
No, that's the whole arc of the movie. Is he refuses it to the point in which he doesn't acknowledge it, and then at the end of the movie, he finally cracks under the pressure that he's the one who fucking did it. That's the point. That's the whole arc he goes through, is realizing that, hey, I've actually had fault, but he's too masculine to admit to that.
I read it differently.
I just read it as denial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But as in, like, he knows it, but he doesn't want to
Yeah,
acknowledge.
that's the point I'm saying. He
Like-
doesn't realize until he's forced to realize that he did it.
Well, you're saying realize.
That's what he has. He has an arc. At the end, he comes to a realization that in fact he did it, and then he was like, "Oh, I've been repressing this," but he's too insane to realize that because he doesn't believe in psychiatry.
But you're not saying that it was a plot twist for him, right?
It is a plot twist for him. For him, he's like, "Oh, it's all on my wife. She's the one with all these issues. I'm perfectly sane. I have no baggage. I'm fine." Then he realizes, "Oh, I'm not fine. I'm actually the one who necessitated my daughter's death, and that I'm the one with issues here." But no, then he regresses even further into insanity and starts doing crazy shit. That's the twist.
I mean, I'm
No.
hearing bits of things that I agree with and bits of things that I'm like,
That's what happens in the movie.
I mean,
We haven't even set up the movie. That's why I'm like, just let me get through. Just be
No.
like, here's what happens. And you're like, I disagree with your concoction of the movie. I'm just trying to sell the basic plot.
It's not a
And you're like,
concoction, it's a reading, and your reading of the film is valid, but I disagree with it because I don't think that he was insane the whole time.
I mean, he's definitely repressing.
yeah.
I don't know
To
if
the
I...
point of insanity. He's making sure. That's the nurse's whole point is you are making sure that your wife stays in this state so that you can be the one that's dominant. That's the whole issue. He's a psychological nightmare from the very beginning. Because he is the reason his wife has stayed in this mental state, because he wants to feel better about himself.
Not only did you lose your daughter, but your wife is lost in some world where this didn't even happen.
You're evil. You're crazy.
You're crazy. You don't want to help your wife because you're sicker than she is.
No.
Face the truth, Michael. It's your fault.
No!
So, the plot of this movie is about a dysfunctional couple whose child died in a car crash. The wife believes the child is still alive, and the husband knows that she isn't alive. He hires, along with a psychiatrist in the town, who's played by John Hurt, a medical professional, she's a nurse, but the film has weird issues about that for some reason, to come in and help the wife to go through this issue and slowly build up a trust with this wife and slowly bring her through this process of healing to bring her out of this psychosis and state. What we learn along the way is, though, the husband is very against psychiatry and psychology and all of these newfangled, new age ideas, to the point in which he doesn't like natural shampoos. That's a plot of the movie. And it becomes a cat and mouse game between him and this nurse of who's going to maintain control over the wife. That's kind of what you get at the basic end of this movie. It's a cat and mouse game of who's the dominant force, him or her, over this woman, his wife. And we learn along the way that he has a lot of psychological baggage that goes along with this, and maybe the nurse is kind of, not a good person herself, or is she? Who knows, because we've got an unreliable main character. That's the plot. The reality of this movie is it's the same two scenes over and over again. Over and over again.
With the occasional, hospital or John Hurt clinic thing.
That's the same scene, though, over and over again. It's just
different.
he's in the scene.
Different
That's
mask,
the difference, is now we've got John Hurt in the scene. The two scenes proceed as followed. The main one we get is, hey, I'm doing this thing for your wife to help her get better. I don't like that. I'm going to talk to you about it, how I don't like it. And then I'm going to bitch to someone else about how I don't like it. That's one scene. And the other scenes are sex. Those are the two scenes you get in the movie over and over again.
Yep. And I guess sort of like an addendum to the first scene, there's also scenes of him and his wife talking about you need to do this. It's like, do I? Well, the nurse said to.
Yeah, those are basically necessity.
Like
those,
setups
you know what
to
those
the
are?
first,
They're the setups to the scene.
Yeah.
They're the opening line of the scene of how chapters begin with once upon a time or whatever. That's the once upon a time of the scene.
The wife asked the husband for something weird.
Because the nurse recommended it. Then he goes up to the nurse and says, I don't like that you're recommending this psychological treatment. And then the nurse says, but I'm doing it because of this reason. Then he disagrees, and then he goes to John Hurt and disagrees, and then he goes to a dog and disagrees, and that's the movie.
You don't like her, is that it?
No, it's not that I don't like her.
Has there been some kind of problem?
Her methods seem unorthodox.
How so?
Well, she's very authoritarian, for one thing. She's virtually bossing me around in my own house.
Yes. Catherine is used to a lot of responsibility.
That's this movie, Tender Loving Care, which is a unique title. That is the title, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
I keep thinking it's Tender Caring Love. It doesn't matter. The title doesn't matter. But that's our basic plot. Our main three players are Michael.
Michael, what was that? Michael.
Michael Overton.
Hey, Michael. Aren't we, Michael? It's all right, Michael. Hey, Michael. Go on, Michael. Michael.
It's okay, Michael.
What's wrong, Michael?
Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Won't you, Michael? Michael. Michael, what's wrong with you? Michael. Michael. Would you please do it, Michael? Michael. She's right, Michael. Don't you think so, Michael? Thank you, Michael.
What is it, Michael? Michael.
Hello, Michael.
Michael is concerned with your approach to Alison's therapy. Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael.
I don't think Michael's quite ready for that yet. That's wonderful, Michael.
It's Michael Overton.
Michael.
She's right, Michael. Yeah. Michael. You better hurry, Michael. Oh, Michael.
Yes, it is Michael Overton.
Is everything okay, Michael? Michael? It's about time, Michael. Well, maybe Michael's different. Hello, Michael. The same thing as you, Michael. Michael, that's ridiculous. No offense, Michael. Michael's decided to give up meditation. See, Michael? She's right, Michael. Michael, come here. Michael. Michael, are you all right? Michael!
I forget the wife's name. Allison. And Catherine, or she was called like
Mrs. Randolph.
Mrs. Randolph, the psychiatrist nurse. Those are three. A lot of it's in this house. Not all of it, but a good portion of it's in this house. And it becomes a mind game and also a game of lust, eventually.
And meditation.
Nude meditation, so lustful meditation. Because that's how it's portrayed in the movie. That's the plot. Then we can get into the nuances of how this plot doesn't work and how it's terrible. Before we get into how this is terrible, because none of us like this movie.
No, yeah.
Bartek, this wasn't a video game, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
The thing about this movie is John Hurt is in 3 scenes.
Yeah.
He just does the same thing in each scene, except for in the final scene, he is Perot, in which he's like, this happened. And we already know, because we've already watched the last 2 hours of the movie to know that this is exactly what happened. But we're here anyway. This movie's biggest problem, and this might make it one of the worst movies we've ever watched for the Mystery Box. The main character, Michael, is one of the most unlikable, unrelatable, narcissistic, self-centered assholes I've ever encountered in a movie. He is just refusing to let the plot progress at every scene of this movie. That is the biggest problem. And the rest of the problems are minute. The rest of the things that we could talk about are fickle in comparison to that.
And it's the kind of character where there is a theoretically sympathetic element to him, but he just will not let you be sympathetic.
Soy milk, for Christ's sake.
I hated this movie. I never want to watch it again in my life. I will have to edit this episode. If this episode at all gets released, it is in fact a Christmas miracle. For watching it, currently recording it with Rachel, who wants to get into a shit fight with me because I disagree about the fact that Michael's an unlikable character.
I said that I wouldn't interrupt you. I do agree that he's incredibly unlikable. I just disagree that he's completely unhinged from the beginning.
He is. That's a fact.
Well, no.
That's a fact.
That doesn't meet the definition of a fact.
The fact that I watched it with my eyes and I can see that it very much is a fact.
I don't know what I can do. I'm just manning the up.
Let's go in there now!
This is, without a doubt, one of the worst. I don't know if it's the worst. It's the worst in the fact that the main character stops what could be an interesting plot. Because this whole cat and mouse, doing it for my wife, you're doing it for this, I don't trust you, this thing, that thing, I'm secretly crazy. This kind of whole, like, oh my god, my mental deterioration is going down. We joked at points that, hey, they're doing The Shining, and then it actually does become The Shining at points, which was odd.
It steals moments from The Shining.
Honey, I'm home. This could be good, but the fact that our main character refuses to let anything happen...
Yeah.
It's like if The Shining did focus 100% on the perspective of Jack Nicholson. It could be annoying because Jack Nicholson's character is frustratingly insane from the very beginning. But we focus on Shelley Duvall, so she's like the sane one and we feel for her. But in this movie, there's no sane individual in the whole film because John Hurt's insane. They're all crazy. They're all weirdos.
Why do you think John Hurt's insane?
John Hurt? Oh my god.
I think he's incompetent, but I don't think he's insane.
I use insane in the general term. I don't mean he's medically insane.
He's too detached from the main plot.
Yeah, but the fact that he should be attached is the problem. So there's an issue.
His brother died.
Yeah, but what did he do for the
expect?
6 months before? Sit on his thumbs?
I think that he's just a talk therapist, like a traditional therapist.
No, he's a therapist who fucks his clients when they come into his office and drives a Lamborghini.
See, I thought that was setting up a different thing. I thought that was setting up how Michael sees all other women as hypersexual because he's not getting sex from his wife.
Because she's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, but the
See,
problem...
I didn't think that John Hurt was actually having sex with her. I think that was just his view, and we're seeing that as an unreliable perspective.
Oh, and that's one of the first few scenes with our main character, so you could say he was mentally not all together from the beginning of the movie, might be.
You're trying to trap me.
I'm trying to show you evidence in the movie that our main character
But you
is
didn't
psychologically
think that. I
broken.
thought that, and I don't think he was completely hinged. I don't think that he was mentally right, but I genuinely think that he wanted what was best for his wife, and then when his perception and his relationship was challenged because he didn't think that she would forgive him for being responsible for Jodie's death. And I don't think he fully had accepted that responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a point to be made about the movie. This movie...
Don't be like the protagonist. Don't stop this podcast from moving forward, Ryan.
Bartek,
Yes.
since you bought this with physical money...
Well, if it was digital, but yeah.
Well, it's money.
Yeah. I might have had a note. Who knows?
It was only $4, so you would have gotten $1.
Sorry, we're stopping Ryan's sentence. Let's go on.
Sorry.
Were you happy with this movie? Was it worth the video game that you thought it was going to be?
I mean, I've said it on other episodes. It was kind of funny watching it with you, but enjoying it on its own, I would not be able to. I didn't realize it would be over 2 hours, just over. That was a big surprise for me.
Was there any enjoyment to be had from the movie outside of me getting annoyed by the movie's existence?
I mean, on the barest levels of incompetence, like every time we saw a boom mic, that was funny because it's like, oh, how could you do this?
Yeah.
But in terms of the plot, like I said, kind of similar to what you were saying with 2 scenes being repeated, there's just so many of the same notes being thrown at you again. Oh, Michael's getting angry at this new plan because it doesn't make sense because they're trying to accommodate someone that doesn't exist. We, the audience, can understand, like, yeah, she doesn't exist, so it's pointless, but he gets angry in the same way every time, have the same argument, same conversation. And again, he could have done it in a more sympathetic way.
Okay, can we discuss properly how the film presents that information of when we, as the audience, discover for sure that the daughter is dead?
Because they keep it a secret.
That's like 30, 40 minutes into the film that we get the flashback.
Oh, you're talking about the flashback.
Yeah.
I think the film 100% confirms that she's dead when Mrs. Randolph, the nurse, arrives. The fact that she's there.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, that's right, because
that's
the something we
daughter's
forgot to
dead.
mention.
Like, it's inferred, but
I
mean, like, we don't see or hear anything concrete about how she died.
The details of how the kid died aren't revealed until halfway through the movie, which is usual.
Yeah, but we forgot to mention that when the nurse was brought in, the wife was the only one under the impression that she was brought in for the daughter. Everyone else knew that it was for the wife.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is a big factor of the movie because the nurse's methods are to necessitate the imagined reality that the wife is going through to slowly journey and guide her out of it. But the husband thinks that she's pushing her deeper and deeper and deeper into the psychosis because now the wife is no longer taking antipsychotic meds. She's no longer in semi-catatonic states. She's now active in life by cooking and cleaning and all of these things that at the beginning of the movie, he says when he talks to the Mrs. Randolph?
Randolph.
Catherine. Catherine that, you know, he had to adapt to do all these things that
didn't
he
do
used to do, that she used to do for him, and now he does them for her. Which, you know, for me, we'll get into it later, but further necessitates my argument that he's very much mentally unhinged in very severe ways at the beginning of this movie before we've even started the movie.
Something wrong, Mr. Overton?
You're not quite what I expected.
What did you expect?
You're very young.
I'm qualified for the job.
Dr. Turner said your qualifications were excellent.
But you disagree?
I just expected someone with more experience.
But their whole thing is, yeah, he doesn't believe her methods are right, she believes they're right, and everyone else believes they're right. Except for, like, no one agrees with Michael. That's the whole movie. Nobody agrees with Michael, and Michael gets upset about it, and he just says to everyone again and again, but I'm right, and nobody agrees. And then he kills everyone. He kills her, and that's the movie. That's it. That's the movie. And it's just scenes and scenes, and then out of nowhere, it becomes a porn. It just becomes porn.
It has sex scenes, yeah.
It just becomes pornographic, softcore pornography. It just becomes sex scenes for no reason. It just becomes, look at how hot these women are, look at them get their titties out and fuck, and it's just, that's it.
For you, which was the most gratuitous sexual moment?
Well, it's hard to say because they're all gratuitous.
Yeah, but which one just... Because I think you know what my one is, but I want to hear what yours...
Well, it's not gratuitous in the sense that it's titillation so much in terms of it's an actual sex scene. I found it gratuitous when we first have a real back and forth between Michael and... what was her name again?
The wife?
No, the nurse.
Catherine.
When we have our first real interaction between Catherine and Michael, she is pretty much about to get undressed in front of him,
Yeah,
and
she's
she's
undoing her
literally
shirt.
just got into this guy's house, and it's like the most unprofessional thing ever. And I found that the most gratuitous because she's got nips blasting through her white t-shirt, and it's just kind of like, oh, this is the movie we're gonna get. This is the kind of movie, and then the movie proceeded to show me that I was right. This was the type of movie we're gonna get, and I think that was the most gratuitous for me in that sense of it set in the dread for me of this is the movie we're watching. That's why it's the most gratuitous for me, because it just set in this fucking nightmare in my heart of, oh fuck, I have to be watching this the whole movie.
It really set the tone for you. Bartek, what moment was it for you?
We just talking about sex scenes or just sexual stuff in
So
general?
gratuitous.
What was the most gratuitous sexualized moment?
I mean, Ryan was pointing out the whole way through that characters weren't wearing bras in situations like
in which they would
like at work and...
I'm sorry, Rachel, you get annoyed because like I'm being very man about it, and you know women can not have to wear bras and whatnot, but it's kind of like, I don't know, she's working as this nurse who's supposed to be looking after a kid, and she's got like her big double D silicone breasts with her nips popping and jiggling everywhere, and it's just like she's a carer.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's just so
How about the scene where she's at the window?
Hashtag free the nipple. But
From the window.
hey, it could cut that glass. But I think that you guys haven't watched enough of Friends to know
I've watched Friends and
seen an
how
episode and a half.
much, like in that early seasons,
it's the 90s, yeah.
where women just did not wear bras at all.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Friends is a sitcom in which they don't really have to deal with like psychological abuse and death of children.
What does that have to do with their bras?
Hold on, because you're talking about real life, whatever. I'm talking about in terms of a fictional story that I'm watching. I find it awfully gratuitous and titillating the fact that here we have a scene in which it's supposed to be this really intense conversation about a child being dead and the mental state of an innocent woman, but the film has chosen that this woman with fake breasts is going to not be wearing a bra, and her tits are going to jiggle, and her nipples are going to poke. While in Friends, you know, it's the 90s, and it's just like, yep, she's Rachel. She just works as a waitress, just cracking one-liners and being a bit cheeky. Well, this is a movie where it's like, this woman's supposed to be like this carer.
So you feel that nipples should only be shown in specific tones?
In media, yeah, like, do you know, am I insane? Is it insane that you're saying it like this movie isn't sexualizing its nipples there, while Friends isn't? Friends is just a static show in which it's like, oh, you know, she's just not wearing a bra. It's not, Friends isn't just lavishing in, look, she's not wearing a bra. The camera work isn't.
Some shots.
Well, yeah.
But we're getting off the. I'm not gonna say point because that.
The nipple point.
But
Bartek, what was your most gratuitous sexual moment in this movie?
And I think the window one was pretty much
where our nurse started licking a window and rubbing her titties up against it.
It was funny.
No,
though.
Rachel, free the nipple.
See, that was what I was going to say. The point where she licks the window, like she's already pressed up against it, and it feels intense enough, and it reverse shots back to him screaming like no, and then she's licking the window. That and when she licks up his nose
from above him.
Yes.
So she really has to make an effort to lick up it.
It was like a Spider-Man thing, like heads upside
but
down.
she has to make an effort to turn her head in a way where she can lick up it.
And then
tongue.
Full kisses.
Well, no, that's
him.
not gratuitous. That's just gross.
Yeah, but it's meant to be like she's so sexual, she's so ravenous that she's just like gobbling him up, including his snot.
Well, that wasn't sex. That was meditation.
No, I really want to point out this. Rachel, Bartek, and I have and will probably go on to have disagreements and different points of view with this movie about mental health issues, gender politics, all that. Here's the problem, though, before we even get into that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if you know, but we're all going to be wrong and we're all going to be right because this movie is wrong at the center of it. Rachel's going to say this thing, I'm going to say that thing, Bartek's going to say this thing. Here's the problem, though. We cannot have a definitive answer, any of us, as to what the mental health angle of this movie's point of view is, what its sex politics is, what this is, because the movie doesn't know.
No.
This movie doesn't care. It doesn't understand what mental health is. This has the base generic understanding of mental health issues.
It plays that trope, the single trauma mental illness kind of thing. Like one specific thing is what makes them mentally ill.
All he needed was a cuckoo clock to fall on his head, and then he believes he's King Tut. And the problem is, Rachel's disagreeing about when was this guy mentally unhinged, and we're talking about to what degree, whatever, and is it gratuitous or too sexual to have women not wearing bras in this movie? The problem is, it doesn't matter what our point of view is, because the movie doesn't give a single shit what your opinion is, because this movie is cheap, it was quickly made, it doesn't give a shit, it doesn't care, it doesn't understand any of the things that we can talk about. So, free the nipple, cool. Tonal places in movies of when is it gratuitous and when is it not to have women just not wearing bras, and when is it empowering. When is this guy mentally unhinged? Is it okay or is it not okay how they portray the wife's mental illness in this movie? The whole issue of masculinity versus femininity, all of this, the movie doesn't know. The movie doesn't know. It doesn't even try to know. But since we are all people that have brains and try to think about these things and try and install our point of views, we're all going to be disagreeing with one another because the movie doesn't have a definitive answer.
No.
There's no answer. So...
But soy milk.
So
Jesus Christ.
Soy milk, for Christ's sake.
So can I ask you a question, considering Ryan and I are on two different sides of like when he was crazy into what degree. I feel like you may have a different answer to this than me. Do you think she actually killed the dog?
No.
I don't either.
No, he killed the dog.
He killed the dog.
So in this movie, a dog gets murdered, and he did it.
Bartek, do you think he killed the dog?
You know what? That was so long ago. I actually forgot to
Think about it?
At the time, I thought she did it, but now I'm honestly not sure.
This problem is they're trying to have it both ways. They're trying to be like, the nurse is actually a manipulative, crazy bitch.
I think
who's in it for mind games, but then also the movie wants to have its cake and eat it too by being like, but actually he's so mentally unhinged that you, the audience, have misinterpreted what she's actually like. But the problem is trying to have it both ways, and it doesn't follow through on either. So
because it's so incompetent.
Because it's so horny.
Yeah, like that's the only thing that they're really attentive to. Like those are the only scenes where you can be like, yes, I won't see a boom mic.
No, yeah, you're right. Unless you count his pubic hair as like.
No, I don't. I don't think his pubic hair functions as a boom
as
mic.
as on the boom mic, that the little slip you put on to muffle the wind.
The windsock.
The windsock, yeah, his windsock.
Or the dead cat.
The dead cat. So, yeah, this movie is a mess. It is a nightmare on any forms of relevant conversation.
She's also free of any indication of depression.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds very good. Is this true, Michael?
That's how it appears to be, but Allison still believes that our daughter's alive, and Catherine's making it worse.
Sorry, making what worse?
Her condition.
This movie started out amusing, but the main character is so unlikable, the performance is so wooden in an annoying degree that it drained any enjoyment, and it just made me yell at the screen. Like, he never tries to actually engage in helping his wife, ever. I said to Bartek at the beginning, like, this would work better if he, at the beginning, was going along with what the nurse was suggesting, and then eventually they were getting progressively more absurd, and he got concerned, and then he started going against it, and then it becomes more of a cat and mouse game. But from the very beginning, he's just an asshole.
I changed my vote. I'm now team insane from the beginning.
No. You can't change your vote because you've been such a dick about it that you're forever stuck on that side. What makes you change your mind that he wasn't insane from the beginning now? Because I'm curious.
Think. Well, why do I need to bother explaining it if you don't care?
Because I'm curious, but it doesn't mean I care.
But you're not letting me change my vote.
Yeah, you're not allowed to change your vote, but you can at least explain why you're trying to betray your own opinions.
I want to hear it. If that counts for anything.
Okay, for you, Bartek.
Thank you.
For wife,
Yes.
I will explain.
Thank you, Flizzy.
Because I think he never wanted the nurse there, but he didn't have a good enough reason to say no.
Yeah. And that's it.
That and all the other things that you've gone through have made
I haven't even really gone through much of why I think he was insane from the very beginning.
You have.
Other than he's just a manipulator.
Well, that and me thinking about how many times I thought that he was a creepy weirdo and that we couldn't trust his version of reality.
There were so many times where we were waiting for like the shoe to drop of like, what's the actual twist? Like, is the kid actually alive and he's insane? Are they all dead? Is the nurse actually real?
Yeah.
Like all these stuff, and in the end, there is
nurse an actual like escaped patient from a facility and
Yeah.
not the actual person.
And that's what I mean is the twist in the movie is for him, not for us, of, oh, he's responsible for his daughter's death in more than just an accident. He was speeding when he shouldn't have. He didn't put a seatbelt on his daughter. He refused it because she was crying.
She cried every time she wore a seatbelt, which is just like, as an Australian person, where it's just like it is just not a thing.
We haven't even talked about we haven't given enough justice to how much these actors fucking suck.
Okay, can I bring up something that makes so much of this film even worse than it has to be?
Why, yes, darling. That was a delivery that these actors kind of delivered.
Do it for Jodie.
The editing. Because
Oh, there was editing?
that's what I was going to bring up. Like, all of the pauses are in this movie. Like, every single scene is just like, yes.
Yeah. As a tribute to the movie...
Nobody talks over anybody else. Everybody, pauses for, 3 beats after each line, and none of it is cut from the movie.
No.
Even, those extra 3 seconds that you get when you're ended a shot,
Yeah.
that's in the movie.
It's like Samurai Cop. Bartek, you've always enjoyed when we watch movies together of this variety. I always do that little gag or little observation of, yeah, keep that taken. I did that a lot during this. There was a moment where the wife said party, but she added a B right after the P. Yeah, the party. It was like, you gotta keep that taken, huh?
Yeah, there was that. There was looking at the boom mic. There was Judy.
Yeah, when she called her daughter Judy instead of, was it
Jodie.
Jodie.
There was another...
When the nurse was struggling with the headphones,
Yeah,
they kept the whole thing in, and I'm like, you can do another one, huh?
I want to add to the one that you said, Bartek, about how, she looks at the boom mic. She actually swats the boom mic away from her head.
Yeah, it was like Black Dynamite.
It gets into her peripheral vision, and she goes...
It's not that over the top, but yeah, pretty close.
Well, I need to do a sound effect.
Imagine if she did do that. And they're like, keep it in! Keep it in!
Move, boom mic!
Move,
Back
boom.
to acting now.
Harold, move that out of my face! Back to acting
And
now!
all
One,
of the
2, 3.
times when John Hurt's looking directly in the camera what did I do in my life?
Is this one of the scenes where I talk to the player?
I'm not even surprised that John Hurt's in this. I'm not surprised that John Hurt did this. I'm not. He needed money. He needed to look like he had red hair for some reason in this movie. It was very confusing.
Really bad haircut.
You know, his hair at the end of this movie, it was cut differently to what it was at the beginning, which was really infuriating.
He must have got a haircut for his brother's
Well,
funeral.
it was weird because it was longer in the 4 days that he had not appeared in the movie. It was confusing because at the end, him and Michael had the same hairstyle. And I was like, what are they trying to say here? Wait, is John Hurt real? Is he like his God, he's Lloyd, from Shining? Is he not real and he's talking to him? But then the movie wouldn't be smart enough to do that.
No, there's
because
too
at the
many
end they're
other
wearing
people that interact with the Doctor.
No, there aren't. We don't see really many people other than, and they all exist when Michael exists. We don't have a scene without Michael in this movie. We don't just have a scene of Michael. There's so many dropped plot lines. Like a co-worker at his office says, "I saw your wife and the nurse with a little girl in a."
That was the doll.
Well, that's what we're led to believe, but the way that woman talked about it made it seem like it was a real little girl, and then he never follows up on that.
No, he completely ignores it, and then it's 20 minutes before we find out that the doll exists.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really important.
Did we see the doll after the nurse was in the bed?
Yeah.
Or before?
Okay, that's the most disturbing aspect of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Michael's just finished fucking his wife with literally 3 hip thrusts, and then they're done for the first time in since their kid died. And then, the nurse No. The wife goes, "Oh yeah, Catherine suggested that I should do this," which is what you really want to hear after you just had sex. And then she comes in, Catherine, and she's like, Jodie's calling for you, Michael.
She wants her daddy.
And she doesn't even say it gratuitously. She's like, she wants a daddy. It was okay. And then he comes in the room, and she's in the kid's bed, tucked up like a little girl, and she's doing a little girl voice. She's like, oh, Dad, but it's sexy. It's like a,
oh, Daddy.
Yeah.
and it's sick.
Thank you.
And then he treats it like it's sick. But here's the problem: the movie. See, this is where it tries to have it both ways. Because then later he kills her, and it's supposed to be like this. Oh, she was actually trying to do the right thing. How can she justify as a medical professional that was the right thing to do?
Yeah,
That's fucked up. You know, and later he gets her removed because he blames her for killing the dog, but all he had to do was just mention that incident because that actually he actually has concrete proof that she did that.
Even though we don't believe him.
No. Concrete proof that she was in the kid's bed going, Daddy,
Oh,
Daddy.
oh, yeah.
That's more of a remove this woman from this service than I think she killed my dog with no evidence. I was literally there and she did this fucking weird thing in my daughter's bed.
He said, she said.
Yeah, but like for us, the movie goers, the movie viewers, we can attach ourselves going, yeah, you're right. You need to get her out of here. Because I never believed that she killed his dog. I always thought he did it because he's insane. I knew he was nuts from the very beginning. I was like, this guy is fucked up.
And he's the one that, well, it does, like you said, that it does try and balance it because he threatened the dog's life, but she said that the dog should die as well.
I don't remember that, but
Wait, she said the dog should die?
Yeah, that like...
No, I don't remember that.
I remember him shouting like, I'm gonna kill that dog.
Yeah,
in
I
anger,
thought
but-
at some point she's just like it was gonna be like kind of a trial for when she needs to do the reveal of the doll dying as Jodie, because the dog had previously died, so she wanted her to relive that trauma before she relives the Jodie trauma.
Oh, right, because there was a childhood dog that was meant to be replaced.
Punky.
I don't remember it being that
gets
way.
replaced by Punky.
I don't remember it being that way, but I also don't care because the movie doesn't care.
No.
You mentioned that, but all the movie cares about is, hey, look, she's doing a 69 with this guy. Isn't that great? Was the game sexual? From your recollection?
I remember from my memory, I thought there were a lot more like lesbian tones between the wife and the nurse.
Yeah, that's played down because like the whole thing seems to be that meditation is code for sex. Because there's this really awkward scene where like both of them have been saying that they've been meditating with Catherine.
Oh, you mean one of the worst written scenes in the movie where she's like, he's like, explain what meditation is for you, and she's like, explain what it is for you.
Like tell me what you do with her.
Allison, just what do you do in your meditation?
The same thing as you, Michael.
Really? Tell me about it.
What do you mean?
I mean, describe what you do.
Why should I describe something that you already know about?
I thought maybe we'd compare notes.
If you want to know, just describe to me what you do, and I'll tell you if I do anything different.
Forget about it. I'm not going to do it anymore anyway.
Another thing that I really want to mention that I find very disgraceful on this film's part, and I found it just a bummer, is his wife is played as a crazy lady throughout the whole movie, but to the point in which she's kind of like a child herself. You know, she needs to be looked after. He's looking after her. Nurse is looking after her. Like, she's kind of treated like she can't look after herself. She's a childlike, and then there comes the point in the movie where they're like, oh, okay, now that we've shown you enough sexy scenes, we're going to have the wife in this white singlet with her nips blasting, and it's going to be sexual. We're going to show that she's got big old titties herself, and then they're going to have sex, and it just bummed me the fuck out, because it's like they're still playing her mental state like she's a child. So it feels like a weird sexualization of, like, I know it's an adult, but with a childlike mind, and it's like if in Forrest Gump, right? When he has sex with Jenny.
Yep.
And how that's really played as intimate and awkward and all of that. Instead, imagine if that scene was shot and focused on, like, Forrest has a big fucking dick. Isn't that fucking hot? Yeah, he might have the mind of a child, but children like to fuck too. You know? Like, that's how it felt. Like, it just felt like dirty.
It's also like
because everything that the wife goes through, everything that's happening around her, is basically people directing her in like manipulating her in a way.
Yeah, go have sex with your husband now. Yes, I will, Nursey.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel like at any point she herself is giving consent for anything that's happening in her life. And it does feel the most uncomfortable during that scene.
She literally does say, like, oh yeah, Catherine told me to take charge of some things, and that's why she had sex.
Dude, this movie was gross, dude. And I really hated it. And I don't think it's the worst thing we've watched on the show. It is one of, but
it's a slog. Yeah.
It's a fucking nightmare. And it had its moments of enjoyability. We should talk about the soy milk in the room.
Oh yeah, a lot of I guess Michael's apprehension or disgust towards, I guess, new agey things.
Yes, he doesn't.
Things that are different.
Yeah, he doesn't think that there's any valid reason to buy
health
organic.
food. Yeah,
he finds it ridiculous that he's being sent to a different town to go buy herbal organic shampoo, and he also gets sent to the next town over again, but for pizza as an appetizer.
For something.
That confused me, because it's just like she's making dinner. We see her making dinner across several scenes, and then they're like,
oh, she made dinner for like 5 years.
Jodie really wants this pizza.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, okay, and then he just drives off, and then it's the next morning.
Yeah. But it all really climaxes when he's listing off all things that he doesn't like, and then he grabs soy milk, and he goes, and soy milk!
For Christ's sake.
For Christ's sake. Like, it reminded me of a King of the Hill type gag. Like, you could see Hank Hill having that reaction to something, right?
It's like, this thing, explanation, this thing, I didn't see a difference. Soy milk, for Christ's sake.
Soy milk, for Christ's sake.
Another thing that we need to mention before we wrap this up is two things. The ending.
Yeah.
And the ending.
So where do we start?
When
the doctor arrives?
No, we need
or when we
the
get
big
that
showdown.
When we get that shot of
the big showdown.
The doll, and it's meant to feel like a horror movie.
The Annabelle doll? Yeah. It's weird that they have the Annabelle doll.
Red paint.
So it's so dumb that it makes my brain hurt. He eventually does succeed in getting her replaced or removed from this job. And her understanding is, well, I've put in all this time and effort to slowly integrate your wife back into sanity. But since you've dicked me around, I only have one method left, which is to very cruelly
jump into the deep end. Basically.
Jump her into reality by pushing her into it via just like showing her this visual representation that I've manifested as her daughter being brutally murdered by me. And then I'm going to leave and leave you to pick up the pieces.
Because
and it's just like,
I refuse to leave her in a state where the wife doesn't know that he was responsible.
But no, it's not even that. It's also that she...
it's just fuck you.
It's a fuck you, but she...
fuck you.
No, but she treats it like it's a fuck you as, you have stopped me from healing your wife, and I'm going to do this to heal her, not as, fuck you, I'm going to fuck up your wife.
It's basically like...
Which is what she's going to do.
My methods are right.
It's basically like, oh, if I need to leave here in 5 minutes, then I need to finish my job in 5 minutes, and this is the only way I can do it.
And I brought a sledgehammer that I'm going to conveniently place here.
I found a sledgehammer and the red paint in the basement.
And I've made it look like the doll was like your daughter. Crushed skull, bitch. I wish you said that. And it's just mind-bogglingly terrible idea.
There wasn't really any swearing in this movie, was there?
I mean, I swore.
I don't think that counts as being in the movie.
I'm swearing at the movie.
Yeah,
Does
but
that
that's,
count?
No, that's not how prepositions
Does it count?
work.
If I swear hard enough, will it enter the movie?
No.
I don't think the box said coarse language.
Yeah.
If it did, it could have meant the other movie. Who knows?
True.
And he just murders her, right? Like, she's like going down the stairs. I'm like, I was going to push her down the stairs, but then he just smacks her on the back of the head with the sledgehammer and then buries her with the dog.
Yeah. Well, it is previously established that you can safely fall down those stairs because he does that earlier.
Yeah, if you don't get hit by a sledgehammer first.
In the back of the skull, yeah. And she bleeds cranberry juice.
Oh, that cranberry juice.
It was cranberry
Very
juice.
sticky thing, yeah.
Sticky,
Yeah,
and purpley.
it's like the drip down the second step.
It was a shit show. And then he drags her, but it looks like he's carrying a wheelbarrow. And then we see the wide shot, and they've got the actual actress, just her fucking head being scraped against all this dirt and grass for like half of the like field she goes across, and it's actually her. And you just go, I commend them on the fact that they
knock her into that grave.
Yeah, he just fucking drops her. Like
He did the same with the dog.
yeah, but it was funny.
Shoves her in.
It's embarrassing, and then the movie wanks itself off because it tries to fake out the ending by him and the wife regressing back to where they were at the beginning, and them going to the bed and having the exact same shot as the beginning of the movie, and then it fades to black. You're like, oh fuck you if that's the end. Like everything goes back to where it was. But then the movie's like, no, but we hired John Hurt for 3 scenes, remember? We needed him to come back.
We didn't have the third. We need the third.
Bartek, could you fill us in on how the movie ends and how John Hurt, in this John Hurt double pack, in which you bought this because you saw it on a YouTube channel playing a DVD menu interactive adventure game with John Hurt, proceeds to end with this John Hurt movie in which he appeared in 3 scenes?
Mm-hmm. So this
John
last
Hurt, by the way,
scene-
is in this. I just want to really clarify that. He
Yeah.
was in the movie.
John Hurt, really?
Before he died.
Yes.
What?
If it was a different DVD, he would have been asking us questions.
And to think it happened on my case? What the hell does she think she's doing? I mean, I'm the one who gave her the break. I helped her get her license, for Christ's sake. I cared about her. And this is how she repays me. Just what the hell is going on here?
So this last scene starts with John Hurt visiting the house for what we find out as the first time, and he's just going to be checking up on what's going on. He's going to ask a couple of questions, and kind of, I guess, conclude the film by filling him in on, like, look, this is the shit that's been going on. But then as he asks the questions, Michael gives weird answers about, like, oh, yeah, I put her in the taxi and her sledgehammer too. And he eventually works out, like, oh, her she's dead and she's somewhere on the ground, isn't she?
Yeah, it takes 10 minutes to get there.
Yeah. At first, it's kind of like this scene of, like, doctor, this person that you trusted to do this job was not a good person. He's like, oh, I see. Oh my god, that's bad. But then he works that out. And then it cuts to later on, where they found the body, they're putting it in an ambulance to take to the undertaker, or the what do they call? Morgue.
Mm-hmm.
And the police are there, and it's basically this final scene of very slowly explaining to Allison, you're going to be going to the hospital with Jody, and Michael has to talk to the police officers about something, and it will take quite a while for him to see you again. And, you know, the film's concluding, it's like, oh yeah, we see where you're going with this, like, she's going to be under care, and he's going to be in prison. That's the end of the film, right? So they take him outside to the police car. The end. No, not the end.
Don't you fucking
No, I know, we've been waiting to talk about this. One small thing.
Very confusing.
The police officers both have, you know, his arms in their hands. So, you know, they're dragging him to the police car. He shakes them off, steps forward a bit, falls to the ground.
It's like they should have cuffed him.
They should have. Yeah, I was waiting for the cuffs.
Yeah, rather than...
They couldn't afford him.
They panic and chase him and are gonna, you know, grab his arms again. It's like, no, wait! And they do wait.
Which was nice of
Which
them.
was very nice of them. And then Michael has a speech which not only is out of nowhere, but we didn't hear some key words, where he's talking about how he can now hear some sort of heartbeat, and this heartbeat was something he hasn't heard since he was a kid, and he really wanted to tell his daughter about this heartbeat, and that is his one regret.
Can you hear that? I haven't heard that since I was a little boy. Shh. It's there. It's Earth's heartbeat. It's there after all this time. It was always a secret of mine that I wanted to share with Jody. All the things that I wanted to tell her and I never did.
And it's supposed to be treated like, remember that thing? And we're like, no, and I didn't even fully hear it because the audio is terrible.
Yeah, I thought that the thing that we didn't hear was like he could hear the Earth's heartbeat because he fell to the ground and he was like touching it.
Yeah, but what does that have to do
What
with
does it
anything
mean?
of the
Yeah.
movie?
And he's like, that's the one that I regret the most.
And it's like, what does that mean? I don't know what any of
It's
it
like,
means.
does it make more sense in the game? I don't know.
Stop referring to the fucking game. This
But
game
that's where-
doesn't fucking matter.
But that's where the scenes are from.
No. I don't care. Your scenes
Look,
and you
I'm
get
not saying I have an answer, but
the
I'm just...
game.
And that's a wrap on the mystery box.
The game was a fucking.
And that's a wrap on the mystery box.
Now, with this feature film that we just talked about, and Rachel's got very impassioned about, she wanted to argue with me from the very beginning and then realized I was right. A continuing theme in our relationship. We have to guess what year this movie came out. Do we have any guesses?
I was thinking, because I knew it was a DVD game, I thought it would be somewhere in the 2000s, so I was guessing like 2005.
Even when you watched it, even when you saw what was on the screen, you still thought it was the mid-2000s. You thought that what we just watched for the last 2 hours and 5 minutes was post 9/11. You thought that what we saw was somehow not before the 2000s.
Just because I initially knew that it was like a DVD game.
Yeah, but
I know it didn't look like it, but I thought that was the dissonance. Yeah.
Okay, so my guess. So there's a few factors that go into my guess. But I don't want to talk about this film anymore. So my ultimate conclusion is either 1995 or 1996.
Yeah, that was where I was at too. I was thinking mid-90s. I'm going to go with 96 because you said 95 with more confidence. So I'm going to go different.
I want 96.
Tough shit. I said it first.
96!
Sorry, he was insane. Not at the beginning. You're on that team still.
My final guess is 1996. So
It's 1996 for me as well. Bartek?
Yep. So IMDb says 1996, and Wikipedia adds in that it was released in 98, and then on the DVD, which I think is what we have, that was released in 2012. So 96 was when it was created, I think.
Great. I feel victorious. I feel like this movie was something. Of course, none of us recommend this movie.
Well, no, yeah, you're right.
None of us recommend this movie. It's depressed me. It's angered Rachel. Bartek's his usual self. He doesn't get any emotions from movies.
I'm very strong.
Yep, that's the word I'd use. This film was a fucking nightmare, and I'm glad we're doing the mystery box again. Bartek, you do have a few more movies that you've brought in that are in the box. If they are all pornographic, I'm going to fucking burn the box, I swear.
Hopefully the G-rated one isn't.
Yeah, G. Because the last two were hentai, and this one was...
You kept saying porn, but it was just sex scenes.
It's
occasionally.
porn because there's no story. It's propelled just by pure sex.
Well, there's a
scenes.
shit story.
There's shit stories in porn, but what they're progressed by is not the actual story. It is the sexual images that are shown on screen. It can be softcore porn, but you know what word is still used in there? Porn.
It's not a porn though, so but yeah.
I mean, it is.
Well, it isn't.
Say it, Daddy.
I mean, it is though,
You're full of
because
shit, but yeah.
Is this art
or pornography.
It is, though. This movie is just softcore porn. That's all this is. What, are you going to argue that the 50 Shades of Grey movies aren't softcore porn?
I haven't seen them.
But you know them. You know what those are. You know what they're about. You've heard of 50 Shades of Grey?
BDSM stuff.
Yeah. And that the stories progressed not through actual plot, but through sexual misadventures. This film is just softcore pornography, because it doesn't matter what the story is, and the sex scenes come into an aggressive degree in nonsensical order, in which this is just softcore pornography. Uratsuki Doji was also porn, but that had a plot. Why does that one not get to be pornography? It had a plot. It had more cohesive plot than this one. It had whole mythology. It had whole character arcs. So why is that one a porn and this one isn't? Is it because this one didn't have rape? Because good for it. I mean, tick in the box. You know what? I take it back. This film was great. It didn't have any rape in it.
But we do agree that she didn't fully consent to having sex with her
husband.
It's
awkward.
It's not.
I think they have a word for that. Dubcon, which is dubious consent.
I'm glad that there's a word for it, because that's what it was. Dubcon, which sounds like a dubbing convention.
I've only first heard of that shortening, so I'm like, what the hell's Dubcon?
So, this movie's a nightmare. Usually, we will do some gimmick in which we try to escape from the room, but I've
got one.
Oh, you do? Good.
The door's closed.
Can you open it?
Yep.
All right, thanks. So, you can find us on the social medias of Facebook and Twitter, Spit and Polish Presents. Email us at spitandpolished@gmail.com. Tell us if you're the filmmaker of this movie. If so, don't fucking talk to me.
Send a formal apology.
No, just don't talk to me.
No, to me. I want the formal apology.
Oh, you can do that all he wants. He's dead now. Because if he even comes near me with his views, I'll kill that guy. This was fun. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
We're glad to be back with the mystery box.
Until next time, listening people, remember soy milk. Christ's sake.